Hello viewer, my name is Stella with Stella JB Fashion. I'm here to teach you on how to cut your basic bodies. At the end of this class, students should be able to draft and cut a perfect basic pattern. The tools you'll be needing your scissors, your marker, your tape rule, your French curve, then your ruler. And another thing you'll be needing, you need your accurate measurement, that is your bust measurement, your shoulder measurement, your waist measurement, and your hip measurements. Let's go. This is your drafting paper or your brown paper. Tailor divide by 4. And before you know the quantity or the amount of fabric you use, you have to know the biggest part of the circumference of your body that you are using, and also the length of the fabric you are using, that is the length of your measurement or the length of the blouse you want to use. Now the biggest part of this body we are using for the sake of this tutorial is the hip, which is 40 inches. 40 divided by 4 will give us 10 inches plus our 1 inch that allowance, that is the waist allowance, plus our 2 inches seam allowance to make it 13 inches. Then you want to know the length of the fabric you are using. That is from your shoulder to the hip. The shoulder to the hip I'm using here 25 inches. This is your 25 inches plus 1 inch allowance. The rest is okay, but if it's your fabric, you have to cut it. Okay? Now, this is the front panel, while this is the back panel. And before you cut the back panel, you have to add your 1.5 inch zip allowance. The front panel is already 13 inches, while the back panel will be giving us 14.5 inches plus the 1.5 inch zip allowance. This is your zip allowance this way. So the next thing you will do, once you have gotten your zip allowance, place the front panel this way. Then pin it down. If you want to use pin, fine, but if you also want to use your paper tape, fine. This way. Why you are pinning, so that your work or the fabric or your pattern paper will not be shifting or moving. So this way, if you have done it this way, that means you are ready. So let's go to do the main work. The tools you'll be needing your scissors, your marker, your tape rule, your French curve, then your ruler. And another thing you'll be needing, you need your accurate measurement, that is your bust measurement, your shoulder measurement, your waist measurement, and your hip measurements. From the shoulder to the nipple, we'll be using 9.5. Then the waist measurement, which is 17 inches. Then the hip, which is 25 inches. We have to get it again so that you can rule down, so you can get the accurate measurements. So you have to join the points together. All you need to do, join the points together. Join the points together. So you go ahead to label the point. This is the bust point, or the bust line. This is the waistline. While this is the hip the hip line. Then let's get our shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm using is 16. 16 divided by 2 will give us 8. You mark. So the next thing is to get your neckline. The neckline we'll be using here, first you have to get the width of your neck. The width of the neck, the standard width of the neck we are using here is 3 inches. Then the standard neck depth is 7, but for the sake of this tutorial, we'll be using 5 inches. We'll be using 5 inches. So for beginners, what we do is to just get the bust so that you can get the curve perfectly well. For you to get the curve, you just curve it this way. This is your neckline. The next thing is to get our armhole. Before our armhole, we need to get the shoulder slope. As you all know that our shoulder is not straight, it's what is slopey. So how do you get your shoulder slope? From the shoulder line, you mark 1 inch down. 1 inch down. This is 1 inch. Then from this point, you join it with this neckline point. So the next thing is to get your armhole. How do you get your armhole? First of all, you have to get the depth of the armhole. How do you get the depth of your armhole? Your bust measurement, in this case, the bust measurement we are using here is 38 divided by 6 plus 1.5. So we'll be getting 7.8. Then you measure your 7.8 from this point, from the slope, from the shoulder slope, 7.8. Here is 7.8. It's around this point. You measure your 7.8, then rule it down. Join these 2 points together. Then we need to draw our horizontal. This way. How do we get this curve here? And before then, we want, because the front panel and the back panel is not the same when you want to get the armhole. What you need to do, you divide this length here into 2, divided into 2. From this point to this point, divided into 2, will be giving us 3.9. You measure 3.9. 3.9. So 3.9 is around this way. So this is the midpoint of this line. Because we want to measure, we want to have the front panel. From this point, measure 3/4 to get our front curve. Why do we measure this 3/4? Because by the time you raise your hand, it will not be too tight. We have to cut out the excess so that when you're raising your hands, it will not be too tight. So what you need to do, from this point to this point, then you curve it by using your curve ruler. That is how to get your curve. Make sure the points are lining this way. As you can see, you join it together. Join the points together. So this is your front armhole. So the next thing you need to do is to get all your circumference, your bust circumference, your waist circumference, then your hip circumference. The circumference we are using here, that is your bust measurement. The bust measurement here I'm using here is 38. So 38 divided by 4, you will have 9.5. So you measure your 9.5. So this same 9.5, this line here stands as your chest line. So from the chest line, you measure 9.5. The same thing, put the same number you got in your bust point. Then you come to your waistline. We have the waistline I'm using here is 32. 32 divided by 4 will be giving you 8 inches. You mark your 8 inches. You mark your 8 inches this way. Your hip measurement is 40. 40 divided by 4 will give you 10. Note, I've not added any seam allowance. Now, the next thing we need to do is to get our nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement in this tutorial is 8 inches. 8 divided by 2 will be giving us 4. Then you mark down. It's 4 inches. Mark it down. Then join the points together. Make sure you join the points together. Join the points together. So, from this bust point, come down by 1 inch. You come down by 1 inch, which is the apex. This point here is the apex. From the hip point here, you come up by 2 inches. By 2 inches. So from your waistline, take ½ inches in both sides. ½ inches in both sides. Then join the points together. This point, join it with this point. This way. Join the points together. This way. This line we just drafted here, they are called the darts. It helps to give your clothes or your garment nice fitting over the bust and the hip. So when it comes to cutting the back panel, make sure you bring out your zip allowance, which is 1.5, and the leg depth for the back panel is not the same thing. So we usually use 1 inch. You measure 1 inch for the back. This one we actually did here is for the front panel. You measure 1 inch. Then you join it with this point to get your curve. Now, when you want to cut the armhole for the back, there's no point bringing out this. All you need to do, this is the length. Then what you need to do is just to get your curve. In case you want to make it easy, you can just from this point, then measure 1.5 inches or 1 inch just for the direction, then you curve. So all I need to do is just to curve for the back. I don't need to bring out this excess. This one, I don't need to cut it out. So all I need to do is to just get the curve. So when I'm cutting, I'm going to cut first for the back, then before cutting for the front. Note the difference between the front and the back dart is that the front dart is starting from the bust point. You come down by 1 inch, while the back dart is starting from the chest point or the chest line. You also come down by 1 inch. That is the two difference. So all you need to do, then you join this point. As you can see from this point here, I brought out 1 inch for the dart. We need to add it back to this waistline. You add more extra 1 inch to the waistline. The 1 inch you added here that I'm going to cut out from this dart, we add it back 1 inch plus 1.5 inch allowance. 1.5 inch allowance. 1.5 inch allowance. So all you need to do is to just join the points together. So you join it from this point. In case you are asking how do you get your bust dart, all you need to do, you divide this point here. You divide it into 2. Divide this point, measure it, then divide into 2. Just get the midpoint of this distance. So this is it. Then divide it into 2. So this is the midpoint. All I need to do is to just take it this way and measure. So this is the midpoint. What you do next is to bring this point, join this point and this point together. This point and this point together. Then from this point, take one, measure 1 inch. You measure 1 inch. So this point, from this point, this middle point, sorry, this line is not there. This line is not there. This one I marked dots is not there. So this is the line we are going with. So from this point here, you measure 1/2 inch in both sides. 1/2 inch in both sides. 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. Then you join this point to this point to this point. Do the same thing here. So this is the side dart, while this is the waist dart. I believe you know how to cut the front and the back neckline, how to get your shoulder slope, how to get the front and the back armhole, how to get your side darts, how to get your waist darts, and also how to get all your circumference. Thanks for joining me. This has been Stella with Stella JB Fashion. Comment if you have any questions and check my links if you need help with your fashion designs. I would love to help you perfect your work. If you found this video helpful, press the like button and subscribe to Stella JB Fashion channel for more helpful tutorials and content for sharp fashion designers.